You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing very well. You're about to listen to my conversation with the bloke called Brandon Stockbridge from a band from Perth, another band from Perth called Almond Soy. They do have a new EP in market. It is called Social Misfit, and we had a discussion on the eve of the release of the EP. So let's hear all about it. Here he is, Mr. Brandon Stockbridge. Can you introduce yourself to the listeners first, mate? And then I've got a heap of questions to ask you about the band and also the EP Social Misfit.
Sure. So my name's James. I play in Almond Soy, and I'm the lead guitarist of Almond Soy. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Right. So, look, I've spoken to a few artists from Perth this past 12 months, and just a quick roll call of some of the few that I've spoken to are Marksman Lloyd, Reams, Johnny Taylor. Mate, there's a lot going on out west at the moment. Perth seems to me a lot like what Brisbane was like in the mid-90s when Regurgitator, Powderfinger, Custard and Screamfeeder were coming through. What's going on over there, mate? There's a lot of creative, it must be creatively fertile ground.
Yeah, I think Perth has an extremely vibrant scene at the moment. There's a lot going on in Perth, even though it's quite a small city. And I guess it's because, over in Perth we've got a lot of great people doing a lot of great work, and I guess it's because we have a bit of extra time, I guess, because the lifestyle over here is a little bit less hectic, I think, than it might be over east. So I think everyone just gets an extra chance to, write some music and record the stuff that they love, I guess.
On that point about Perth, I love when a band injects some regional flavour into their sound, so I really enjoyed the video that accompanies the cut, Fine. How has Perth and, by extension, Western Australia identifiably influenced your sound and your music?
Well, I guess we've all just grown up in Perth, so it's like an innate part of who we are. And I think Fine in particular, that video was mainly filmed at a weekend trip down south to Bunbury. So I guess that does have that regional influence, I guess, because we're just travelling down from Perth to Bunbury for that weekend, and a lot of those clips are just from that one trip.
Right.
So I guess in terms of Fine, that's how that was influenced. And for us as a band, I guess growing up in the most isolated capital city in the world, I guess it really has shaped who we are, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times actually from artists out west. Actually, it must be something to do with growing up in that most isolated capital in the world there. I mean, it must be, I know we're all connected by digital media and social media platforms and all the rest of it, but there must be something a little bit liberating about not having Brisbane or Melbourne like from my perspective in Brisbane here, okay? So we've got Sydney and Melbourne, I wouldn't say just down the road, but they're not too far away. And we have bands coming through all the time. So it's almost like you're influenced by each other in that, in the Perth scene, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's quite a collaborative environment. Like, everyone's really helping each other out, and everyone wants each other to succeed, I guess. So it's quite a tight-knit community, which really fosters those kind of close relationships, I guess.
Cool, mate. And look, it was hard not to miss the fact that you're in a band with your brother, and no doubt that comes with advantages and disadvantages, I'd imagine. So what inspired you to form a band and write with your brother?
Well, I guess Brandon actually started the project late last year in November, and it started out of his bedroom, and he started recording the music. And I guess we've just grown up playing music together, so it was just like a natural kind of shift, I guess, to go from him starting the bedroom project to me joining the band, and then the other boys jumping in as well. And I guess in that short time, we've been able to really form quite a tight connection with everyone, because I guess we've all been friends and everything like that. So it's been a great experience so far, because I guess with that kind of connection of being brothers, you get to be a bit closer than most bands start off, I guess.
Well, it's probably easier to rehearse as well, given you can probably just knock on each other's bedroom door and go, look, I've got this idea here, what do you think?
Yeah, that's it. And I guess it's always been like that as well. Even when we were in high school, just being able to jam or knock out an idea together, it's always been great.
Yeah. How old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm 23, Brandon's 22, and the rest of the boys are between 19 and 22 as well, I think.
No, that's great. It's a really good time to do it because you got the energy to do it. See, I'm 39, and I've got a family and all of the stuff that comes along with that. So it's a lot harder for me to sort of up stumps and just travel somewhere for even a small tour like what you guys are doing. So, it's in terms of promoting your music, and I'll ask you a few questions in a sec about Social Misfit, the new EP. How do you plan on reaching
Yep.
as broader audience as you possibly can?
Well, I guess the first thing that we started was just focusing on Perth, I guess, and because the project started and we played our first gig in March, so we've just been really focusing on spreading the word in Perth, and now that we've been very fortunate to sell out a lot of our headline shows and everything like that, and so from there we're really trying to branch out to the East Coast. So this tour, I guess, is the first way of spreading that message, and just hoping to get start getting the word out there about the band and about the project, I guess.
I mentioned earlier, before I started recording, that I had the EP Social Misfit on a few times over Christmas Day, and it's fantastic music to entertain to. I've got to tell you that, mate. It's really found a place in my life that way. So to that point, it's safe enough to be considered...
Thanks so much, yeah.
It's safe enough to be considered family-friendly, but it's still got a bit of an edge to it. So, a lot of artists, particularly indie artists, they want to connect with people on a, face-to-face level. But how would you guys feel, or would you entertain or welcome an opportunity for the band's music to be used in commercials and on free-to-air TV?
Well, I guess for us, we're really trying to just make music that we enjoy. And then going from that, it just, if that resonates with other people, then that's really fantastic. And so that's what we're aiming to do. So I guess, we're really just trying to write music that, we all love, and then just go from there. So I guess it's really up to the audience and how other people enjoy it. And, for us, it's just always just trying to put out tunes that we're really passionate about, because I think in the end of the day, people can see that sincerity and, can see the fact that we're really trying to do something that means a lot to us, I guess.
When it comes to the live performance, does the band sound... most bands sound heavier by their nature because it's denser when you're playing live, but how different is your live performance compared to what you put in the studio?
Well, I think we're actually a lot more energetic and enigmatic when we're playing live. I think in the studio, it's we're trying to really focus on the composition and the songwriting. But when we're playing live, it's a lot more about the crowd engagement and making sure that everyone comes away having a great time. Because it's not just about the music, I guess. It's about having that whole holistic experience of coming to a show and just really seeing a great live act and just really, engaging the entire audience as much as possible, I guess.
Yeah, that old engagement thing. And look, you do that, I think, I'm a musician as well, and I play in covers bands. So one of my big things on stage is that we do focus on our performance. Of course, we focus on the musicianship, but, you've got to look like you're getting into it and you're enjoying yourself. When you make eye contact with people in the audience, smile at them and that sort of thing. Not being weird about it or anything like that, but you know what I'm coming from, don't you? It's about coming across as if you're connecting with the audience in the live setting, because for mine, I can't encourage any of the listeners to get out and watch live music enough, because it gives... Forget about using cliches like it's the fourth dimension or what have you that, is added to music if you're just listening, a third or fourth dimension if you're listening to music through your iPhone or through whatever media player you might be doing. It's a totally different experience. It's a visceral experience that allows you to get into music in a completely different way. My take on it, watching a live band, is we go back to our tribal roots, if you like. It's almost like coming back around a campfire again, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's really about engaging with people and just giving off that certain energy. And again, it's not trying to get too deep into it, but I think it's just when someone new comes to see a band and they feel how that band is performing and the energy that you're giving off, and I think that's just as important as the music itself, I guess.
It's the way we share stories, I think, in the modern age, or my view of it anyway, for my tribe is the tribe of musicians, if you want to look at it like that, and the way we share our stories is through live performance, and that's what I was sort of talking about the, a bit being like a campfire a little bit, even though we can all go camping and do what we do because we live in Australia, or do have a lot of international listeners too, but, we do tend to like going camping as human beings and the like, but if you can't do that because you live in the inner city or what have you, get down and see a live band. Let's
Yeah, that's it, and it's a great way to connect.
So, mate, let's talk about the EP Social Misfit in a bit more detail. How did you record it? Was it done at home and then brought to somebody to say, when I say tidy it up and clean it up, you know what I mean when I say that? How was it recorded?
Yeah, so we worked with Dylan Olivieri from the Moneywell. So we went into his home studio for about 6 days, I think, and we just spent that time there with him in his home studio and just really kind of worked from the tunes from there, because all the tunes had obviously been written beforehand and all demoed and everything like that. But once we got into the studio with Dylan, we just kind of workshopped the tunes and just got them to the final product that they were.
I'm looking at a picture of you here playing what it looks like it's either a telecopy or it's a Telecaster. Is that the choice of axe that was used to record the tracks?
Yeah, so we used a variety of guitars. So the Telecaster was one of them, and I think we used a Mustang and a Strat as well as a variety of different basses and stuff.
How did you go about?
The gear was just really, yeah.
Yeah, so how did you go about selecting what fit for what song? Was it just trial and error, or was there a bit more of a strategic approach?
I think it was a bit of both, because we've played the songs live before we recorded them, and I guess it was just knowing from a live setting what we felt kind of sounded best, and then getting in the studio and deciding what sounds were coming through, and then if we were liking that, then we'd go, okay, that's working, and if we're thinking, okay, maybe we can switch it up a bit, that's where we'd try a different axe or try a different amp or something, or just try something a bit different.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Look, my show is called Scars and Guitars, and because I'm a musician, I do tend to ask those sorts of questions. So I've got one more for you about amplification. Okay, so did you decide to go for the full...
Sure.
Did you go for the full Fender setup and use a Fender Twin or Basement or something like that as well to complement the choice of axes?
Yeah, we had a revolving set of amps. So we had a Fender Deluxe Reverb for some of it. Sorry, a Deluxe...
Cool.
Fender Blues Deluxe, and we also had a Fender Princeton, and we also had a couple other little amps at Dylan's studio that we used as well. So it was really depending on the sound that we were wanting, whether it was a bit more of a raspy sound or whether it was a kind of fuller sound, I guess.
I'm reading your Facebook. I guess you'd call it, the About Us section in Facebook, and it says affiliation Slipknot. Now, I can't hear any Slipknot through your music at all. So is that a bit of a gag, or is that just...
That was just a joke. That was a joke when it was first started. I think it was like Slipknot and like Mongolian soy techno or something like that. I think it was just a joke right at the start of the project, I think. Yeah.
Well, I guess for the listener out there, there's another picture of you wearing a Smiths t-shirt, and I can definitely vouch for the influence there.
Yeah, we've definitely grown up listening to a lot of the Smiths and a lot of different post-punk bands, I guess, and that's really a big part of our sound, I guess, that kind of post-punk indie pop kind of influence, I guess.
Your music, I think, is strong enough, mate, that it'd probably have a very good shot doing something in North America. Is that something you guys given thought about?
Well, yeah, I guess. Because we started the project was started in November last year, or 2016, and our first gig was in the end of March in 2017. So I guess it's just been the first year of the project. So we'd love to play shows in North America. It's just obviously we just got to see what how everything goes, and in the future if that opportunity came up, we'd obviously take it with both hands. But for now, it's just really focusing on the local and the national scene, and then definitely seeing where it can go from there, I guess.
So from the sounds of things, you're the guy that's... Are you acting as the manager of the band as well as being in the band? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so we work together. So it's kind of me and my brother kind of run the project together. So he does a lot more of the songwriting and everything like that, and I'll do a lot more of the management and also some of the guitar parts and everything like that. So we kind of work together to keep it pretty tightly on ship, I guess.
Mate, final question. What's been your biggest challenge to date with what you're doing here at Almond Soy?
That's a tough one. I guess
the curveball at the end, mate.
Yeah. The biggest challenge. I don't know. I guess it's just always trying to stay true to who we are. I think because I think we have a very solid vision for the project, and I think it's just keeping on pushing forward with that. I think because sometimes a lot of different people can have different opinions, I guess, on music, but I think we've got a pretty clear thing of what we want to do, and it's just about staying true to that. I think that's our biggest kind of goal or biggest challenge, I guess.
Well, from one musician to another, and someone who's been in enough bands to know, mate, that there's only one way to do it. benevolent dictatorship. That's it. Never a democracy. It's too hard being a democracy, mate. You end up getting pulled in 4 or 5 different... As many different members there are in the band as many different directions the band will be pulled in, inevitably. So it's always better off if somebody has the vision and basically says, right, guys, this is what we're doing, and there's that... on the margins, decisions are made. Everybody makes their own decision about what guitar they use for the most part, that sort of thing, or bass or amp or... whatever it might be. But Jesus, I've seen so many and heard of so many good bands that get pulled apart at the seams because everybody feels as though they have ownership, if you like, of strategy or direction. So if it's as much as you can keep it, yourself and your brother, or because I see that both you are here, it's only yourself and your brother that are listed as members of the band, so it's probably a decent strategy, with all due respect to the people that you got in the band around you guys at the moment, if you just sort of have a collective of people you turn to and keep you guys as the focus.
Yeah, and I guess it's just keep everyone on the same page and just going from there. I think that's always the aim. It
is, mate. Well, I mean, look, benevolent dictatorships, people are always happier with them. In my view, it's it's always been the way to do things. That just I'll be the first person to buy somebody a beer at the bar during a break in a set. You know what I mean? And help people bring gear in and all of that sort of stuff. It just creates a nicer environment, I think, rather than asking for people's opinion about what we're doing here and there. I mean, there are some things you need to ask, like, are you available for this run of shows from Friday the 5th of January, starting in the Grey Starling Hotel in Melbourne, to Saturday the 13th of January, finishing at Jack Rabbit Slim's in Perth? That's an important thing to get somebody's opinion on, but the other stuff, maybe not necessarily. So, But, mate, how can how can the listener get in touch with you guys? And if they want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, so we're on all major streaming platforms. So obviously on Spotify and YouTube, and we are also just got on SoundCloud as well. But the main point of call would be our Facebook page. So www.facebook.com/Almond Soy. And from there, basically, you can find everything you need to know about us and see the upcoming shows that we've got. Because I think we're playing about a 5-date Oz tour, as you said, starting on the 5th of January and making our way up to Rad Bar and on the 9th of Jan, and then we're going Vic on the Park in Sydney on the 11th, and Haya Bar on the 12th of Jan, and then Jack Rabbit Slims on the 13th. So action-packed couple of weeks, but just Facebook and Spotify and everything is probably the way to go to find us.
Fair enough, mate. All right, mate, that's it. Thank you so much for the interview. What I'll do... You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with Brandon Stockbridge from the band from Perth called Almond Soy. Thank you so much for listening.